Hi there. We're going to start by creating a new notebook and uploading different types of files, which is one way this information can be organized into a reusable knowledge asset. You can start the process by creating a new notebook that is going to give you a dialog box to upload sources. And if you look, you can choose sources from your hard drive, and you are going to notice that you can either drag and drop those sources, or you can click on them and select them from your hard drive. The supported file types are PDF, text files, markdown files, audio files, and in some cases NotebookLM will also take MP4 files. Even though it will only extract the audio and the transcript from those files. So for example, if we click on Choose File, what you'll notice is that the PDF or whatever the file is will be uploaded directly to NotebookLM. And you'll see that source appear here on the left side menu. If we click on top of the source, what you will notice is that the source has been summarized and synthesized here in NotebookLM. So now what we can do, we can look for the key topics in the source, and when you click on the key topics on the source, you will notice that a chat window will open with more detail about that part of the information. We can click on the source again, we can click on one of the key topics, and you'll see that information come available inside of the chat area. One thing that you can do when you have a document open on the chat window, you can then click Save to Note. When you click on the button Save to Note, you will then see that information saved inside of your studio, and it will be one of your studio documents. We're going to go back to the source guide, and so you can use the detailed synopsis, or you can use some of the summaries by capturing that information in the chat and saving that information inside of your studio. If we click on the source link, it is going to bring us back to the notebook interface. We can upload more than one document. We can go back to the add area that is going to open the add interface, and it is then that you can drag and drop more documents, or you can choose more files in order to upload. What you will see in this area is that for this notebook, you have a source limit. You'll see that there are 50 items that you can upload and make your source. Obviously, you have higher source limits when you are using a paid account, but you can start with the 50 sources that you have and to upload them here in NotebookLM in order to use them. We once believed that our experience could stay in our head and still count as something we could build on. Our work history made us think results alone would carry the weight, even when the steps lived only in memory. That belief fails the standard we need because a product line cannot hold when our problem-solving knowledge is not translated into a repeatable course path with the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like stated clearly enough for decisions without follow-up clarification. Our old way kept the root cause private, like it was too obvious to say out loud. Our old way kept the steps flexible, like flexibility was the same thing as structure. Our old way kept done vague, and vague always invites rework. A path that honors our experience only becomes real when the root cause is named and the steps are fixed enough to repeat. That condition either holds or it does not, and we can see it by looking at whether our course path states the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like so clearly that decisions can be made without follow-up clarification. A lot of what we used to call wisdom was actually unspoken context. A lot of what we used to call common sense was actually missing steps. A course path that depends on people guessing what we meant is not a repeatable course path. A product line built on guessing breaks as soon as we try to build the second product. Building standing and confidence never came from calling ourselves experts out loud. It came from making our thinking observable. That condition shows up when our problem-solving knowledge is translated into a repeatable course path where the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like are stated so clearly that decisions can be made without follow-up clarification. Some of us used to hide behind over-explaining because over-explaining feels safer than being precise. Some of us used to swap clarity for persuasion, thinking we had to convince somebody instead of stating what is true. That pattern breaks the condition every time because persuasion leaves room for interpretation, and interpretation creates follow-up questions. A product line cannot scale on interpretation. Sharing knowledge our way sounds good until our way means the structure changes depending on the day. The condition only holds when our course path stays repeatable, with the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like stated clearly enough that decisions can be made without follow-up clarification. We learned that personal style cannot replace stable steps. We learned that stories cannot stand in for stated constraints. We learned that insight without sequence turns into confusion later, even when the insight is real. A product line needs sequence that stays put, inviting others to join what we know does not work when the entry point keeps moving. The condition holds only when our problem-solving knowledge is translated into a repeatable course path with a stated root cause, stated steps, and a stated definition of done that is clear enough for decisions without follow-up clarification. We used to treat start anywhere as kindness, but start anywhere usually means no shared starting line. We used to assume people could spot the root cause because we could spot it. That assumption breaks the condition because assumed context always demands follow-up clarification later. A product line needs one starting line per problem. Communication shows up here in a very plain way because ambiguity always creates rework somewhere down the line. The condition holds only when expectations are explicit inside the course path, meaning the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like are stated so clearly that decisions can be made without follow-up clarification. We know now that missing constraints create extra options that nobody asked for. We know now that extra options create delays that look like being thorough, but they are still delays. We know now that unclear handoffs force us back into explaining mode, and explaining mode does not produce a stable product line. A product line needs language that closes doors on confusion. Learning matters because information accumulation is not translation, and translation is what makes something reusable. The condition holds only when our problem-solving knowledge becomes a repeatable course path where the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like are stated clearly enough for decisions without follow-up clarification. We used to keep collecting more ideas instead of extracting patterns we could reuse across products. We used to treat preparation as progress. Even when nothing was structured into steps somebody could follow without us present. That pattern fails the condition because unstructured learning cannot become a repeatable course path. A product line needs patterns that stay consistent from one offer to the next. Decision-making shows up when we choose what goes in and what stays out, because a course path cannot hold everything we ever learned. The condition holds only when trade-offs are explicit inside that repeatable course path, with the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like stated so clearly that decisions can be made without follow-up clarification. We learned that analysis delays commitment when we keep revisiting which step comes first. We learned that local optimization happens when one lesson sounds good, but breaks the sequence for everything after it. We know now that reversible choices belong in optional areas, not inside core steps tied to root cause removal. A product line needs decisions that reduce future rework. Problem solving itself is where we either tell the truth or we sell symptoms dressed up as solutions. The condition holds only when our course path translates symptoms into root cause work with clear steps and a clear definition of done that allows decisions without follow-up clarification. We used to patch issues because patches look fast in the moment. We used to accept recurring problems as normal instead of treating recurrence as proof that root cause was never handled in the first place. We know now that recurrence means the course path is not actually repeatable yet because repeatable work prevents recurrence by design. A real end-of-year goal of building out a full set of offers only validates when this condition holds steady across more than one course, because a product line cannot stand on symptom fixes and missing definitions of done. A repeatable course path has to say the root cause, the steps, and what done looks like in plain language, no follow-up needed. When notes, PDFs, audio, and transcripts get pulled into one notebook, the key topics can be surfaced and saved as clean notes that match those three parts. In cases where a lesson keeps drifting, the saved notes can hold one stated root cause, one fixed sequence, and one definition of done that stays put. That same set of notes can then be reused as the backbone for the next offer in the line. This is how we stop starting over. There you have it, and I will see you in another video.